Okay, good afternoon again, everyone. If we can just, if you can all just mute your microphones just now, just till I get started again. We finished on question my question M9, and that was about the Splitter Island, the notion of a Splitter Island. So we can move on for that. 10 and 11 were just factual questions, which is fine. In relation to 11 and Mirehead Road, council said it's 4.7 wide at its narrowest point. Mr. Burrow agreed with that, but he said it's only for about 20 metres. So for the most part, Mr. Burrow, am I right? It's between 5.5 and 6 metres along most of its length. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yep.
And Mr. Crawford, that'd be your understanding as well.
There's various widths. A lot of it is just I don't know the width of some of it. It's over 6 metres in some areas where it's been widened and formed between the poles. But generally speaking, on the way up to the railway and the way up over the line summit at the junction, it's all about 6 metres. With a narrow bit just about 20 metres north of the access to the farm.
Okay, that's fine. So, moving on to M12, and it's the first part of the council. Firstly, the first part of the council's answer to that very first sentence, where you described the road, and Mr. Burrow referred to this earlier. So, you call it there a primary strategic road to provide for major traffic movement between Whitecross, centres of population, and economic activity on a national and regional level. And you take that from 15.1 of the National Roads Development Guide. You took me to that document earlier.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I understand
yeah.
where you get that description. And you've also told me that under the Scotland variations to the DMRB, when you've got a flow of less than 5,000, the width of such a road can reduce from 7.3 to 6 metres. Yeah?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So what you say there is it will become a primary strategic road. What is it now?
Link road, basically a link road under our hierarchy. Just 2 seconds, let me just check. I think it's yeah, it's a link road. That's what it's classed as at the moment, a link road.
Okay. So what is it from the appeal development that turns it from a link road into that much grander sounding description? Is it just the volumes of traffic? Because it still be serving the village in the same way.
Yes, but it's the increase in traffic, the amount of vehicles I suspect will be coming out there.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't hear that answer properly.
So I think I'll let you clarify, Mr. Graham, Mr. Crawford. What I asked, what is it that makes it that turns it into this other road, and you said it's the volume of traffic.
Volume of traffic.
It's the change of status to what it's going to be serving, plus the volume of traffic. That's basically where we go from the National Development Again. It pushes into the DMRB standard for that section.
That's fine, and I know Mr. Well, it sounds like Mr. Burrell disagreed with that earlier. I will let him have a chance to come back. And can I just ask then, though, you called it a link road just now, right? Is there a separate standard for that kind of road?
It was just going to be that road. If we were upgrading that road, it'd be done to National Roads Development standards.
Right. So there's not a kind of lesser standard that you have that you would be suitable for a link road, if you like.
No. Any roads we were widening the road, upgrading the road, it would be done to these standards.
Right. You say the National Roads
Development Guide standards, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought we were talking about the DMRB standard. Am I getting mixed up?
As it stands at the moment, if we were doing any work on that, it would be upgraded to DMRB standards because there's no increase in traffic or extra development going on there. But because we had the Whitecross Sur and now these two developments and this one coming in first, we'd be looking for it to be upgraded to DMRB standard because of the increase. and capacity we'd have to take.
Right, okay. So if you were if the council went in and decided to upgrade the road for whatever reason, you would use the National Roads. I can't remember the name of it. The
National Roads
National Roads Development Grade. But what you're saying is because of you mentioned all three developments, but if we can just focus on this one for the moment, because of this development, that brings along it turns it into that description that you gave me, and therefore it needs a DMRB applied.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I come back to Mr. Birrell, can we have a look at the National Roads Development Guide just then on page 38 of it?
Yep.
Right. Okay. Has everyone else got that? Okay. So right at the bottom, it says see rural areas. So in rural areas not subject to local speed limits, TD 993 is taken as a starting point for new routes, which aligns design speed to the alignment constraint, etc., etc.
Where's
Sorry, that's the bottom of 38. Right.
Six cause successful place adopted the design of roads, particularly stage roads using the above analysis will identify minimum road width readily. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yep.
Right. So you see where I am. It's in C, right at the bottom of 38.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And that refers to TD 993, which I think is now CD 109, isn't it?
Yes. It's defunct. Yeah.
Yeah. So does CD 109 help us out here? Is this in the council's view the kind of rural road that's
the description we are talking about, the 6 metre wide road. It's a step down from the 7.3 to the 6 metre wide rural road.
So it takes you to the same place instead of the kind of width of the standard of the road, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. So that a road. So I haven't looked, and I can do so later. But if you follow the CD 109 guidance, you would still have the same standard of road as you're telling me is needed under the DMRB for your description, a primary strategic road to provide for major traffic and so on. It would be the same standard in both.
Yeah. There's been a lot of confusion over recent years since they brought in designing streets and a lot of name changes. I agree with Duncan on that one. He was talking about distributed roads. It would be a distributed road in old terms, but it's now a strategic route. It has caused a lot of confusion for people with changes in terminology.
Okay, that's fine. That helps clarify me the council's position. Then, Mr. Birrell, if you get, I suspect you're going to tell me you disagree, but that's fine. I'll turn over to you. I can't hear you. You're muted still.
Sorry about that. Yeah, if you read 15.1 road types, a strategic road provides for major traffic movements between centres of population and economic activity on a national and regional level. I would argue that Mirehead Road is not a strategic road. I would argue that Mirehead Road is a main road, which is the description further down. It's within urban boundaries. It links traffic from strategic roads, which we could potentially argue and have discussed earlier that A803 could potentially be a strategic road, to residential streets and and industrial roads. So I'm of the view that Mirehead Road is not a strategic road. It's a main road rather than a strategic road. I think I would also go back to Graham brought up table 1. table 1 of page 20. If you look at that table again, you look at the traffic flows on Mirehead Road are low. I think they're circa 100 just now, and we'll maybe put them up to about 180 in the peak per hour, and 1100 annual average daily traffic. So I would still class them as low. So if you look at that table in from the left, traffic flows, and you select low, you then look at the number of junctions along Mirehead Road. I think you'd select that as low as well. You get into the whatever colour that is, cyan, whatever colour that is, for designing streets guidance, so that it then muddies the water even more about the standards that we're looking at for Mirehead Road. I think there was another. Well, if you haven't got it in front of us, but if you look at designing streets as well, it does talk about DMR being for trunk roads and motorways, and I just think that there's other documentation in designing streets and the Scots guidelines or the National Roads guidelines that talk about the ability of designers and local authorities to take on board, the context of the road itself. And I just think that the place I'm coming from is that we are working with an existing road which serves an existing function. It will continue to serve that function to serve the residents of Whitecross, and we should be working with the constraints we've got to improve it if we can, but not to redesign the whole road from point A to point B to be DMRB compliant.
Okay,
I'm
going to
potentially unreasonable for 220 units. But.
Okay, just while we've got that table up, I understand what DMRB means and I understand what DS means. What do BP and BM denote in that table?
Sorry.
There's a description above on that. Sorry.
Oh, I see. It says it. You see the descriptions. I just wondered what maybe it doesn't matter what BM stood for and what BP stood for. Maybe it's not important.
Yeah, I think the DSBM, I think the point there is it says the design should therefore be, well, we're not having pedestrians, but the roads with visibility alignment should be less stringent, such that vehicles are allowed to travel more freely and slightly at higher speeds. So I think that's where it comes into on that table. We are a DSBM, even for the low volumes we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, the council I think was making the point that south of the railway bridge that maybe changes because then you become more into the settlement. It's fine. That was just while we were looking at that table. Phil, can I ask then? I understand the point you're making. So there's this notion of a strategic road, and you said you didn't think it was. It was a main road. So for you, Mr. Burrell, does that what does that matter in terms of the standard that you'd be working to? Is there a difference in terms of width or standard or something?
I think it's acceptable gradients, and but I think we're working with the envelope of the road we have within, I suppose, departures from some of the standards that are set out in CD 109 in terms of gradients and curve lengths as well.
Right. So it's not that, if I understand it right, it's not so much that a main road would have a different standard to a strategic road. It's just that are you saying that departures from it are more likely to be acceptable?
Yeah, it's less stringent. I think that says that in section where it talks about the DS and BM descriptiveness. Its alignment should be less stringent, and I think there's got to be flexibility in the characteristic of the road and its existing function. We're not designing a new road. We're adding 250 units into a village that's got 4 other routes out of it, and this will be one of those routes, and we're improving it to a level.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Crawford, mean, you can come back if you want to. I think I understand where both you and where Mr. Burrow are coming from here, where the council is coming from. So don't feel you need to respond to that, but if you've got anything to add at that point, then
I would add that the speed of the road comes in it as well, because the 85th percentile speed we got was 49.9 miles per hour. That takes it design-wise in DMRB to 85 kilometre design speed. And nothing that I've been... I'm supposed to run road construction in tandem with planning, as per Scottish Government Minister's request. I have been unable to do that in this instance because I've had insufficient technical information to allow me to do that. It means that the developers have to put a lot more engineering costs up front to get designs ready for outline and for full planning. And normally what I would expect is to see all that all signed off by the time they get their full planning, and I just issue the RCC the week later to try and speed things up for everybody. I have never had enough, as I said, this was a feasibility study, this drawings, and it never went anywhere. As I say, the last meeting I had, we were looking at support structures at the dip, at the crest for the cut through. And we were actually having a look at discussions about the levels along the road. And I think what was put to us was that we're going to top and tail all the humps along the rest of the road to get rid of the blind spots, the narrow bits. But that never went any further. So as I say, I've had no information coming forward to give me a chance to assess any other proposals.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry, Mr. Vivian, you get your hand up there.
Yeah, just one observation looking at the road types under 1.5.1 in the National Roads Development Guide. Whether my head road is a strategic road or a main road, it still fits under the category of a primary road. And my understanding is that through the discussions on the transport assessment, it was agreed that my head road would become the primary access for serving the proposed development.
I think the TA actually showed that there was use of all of the roads. The PPA-240 was used, Station Road was used, and Maya Head Road was used, and I forgot its name, out to the west as well. So it was one of 4 routes out of the village that was assessed within the TA.
Sorry, Mr. Campbell, on you can.
I just picked up something from Mr. Crawford's, the tail end of Mr. Crawford's evidence, complaining about not having sufficient information to dovetail planning and roads. Are you talking, Mr. Crawford, sorry if I can ask this question through you, sir, are you talking about information about the other developments? Or are you talking about information?
No, this one road I'm talking about for this development. I don't have enough technical information to make a full assessment on what, as I say, it was a feasibility package, and I had expected to have more interaction with the applicant on that with a view to progressing the design, and that just never happened. It went to appeal before that could happen, I think. Because Mr. Burrell and I had discussions about the village, about the access to the village from the development. And one of the things that came up was we were talking about Station Road. Station Road, it was proposed that Station Road would become what they call a quiet lane. It'd be access only to the residents and farms up there. It'd be shut off for cycling, walking and riding. So that would be one of the roads. Because it's too narrow. It's got a dangerous bridge on it, a bend on a bridge, and it's got a very dangerous steep slope down at the other end of the road into the Linlithgow Bridge. I'd say that was one of the things that I don't know if I think I mentioned it, Duncan, I might not have, but certainly that was one of the things that was spoken about right from the start with the SIR, that one would be taken out of the equation. So it does narrow it down. I don't dispute there are other roads in there. I don't have any problem with that. The other roads will be used. I know the other roads will be used with people staying there. And it'll be people who use the most convenient road to them and their place of work or where they're going.
So there'll be no there'll be no categorisation of this road as the main road in and out of the village. People can use whatever road they like to get to wherever their houses are. Is that what you're saying?
No, my understanding was that this was to be the main access to the village and all the future development to the village, because they lost the access off the 801. And for that is one of the reasons we looked at it going up to DMRB standard, because it was going to be a major access for not just this development but further developments. And this development came in first with our outline planning application.
Yeah, well, I don't see that. I don't see that in your reasons for refusal.
Can I take us away from this just now, Mr. Crawford? Sorry, I just want to ask. You talked there about Station Road being taken out of use or becoming a rural lane, or being. I'm not aware that that's part of any of the. I've not seen anything about that. Have I?
That's what I'm saying. The discussions never went any further. We looked at the village centre. We looked at traffic management things for the village centre as part of the package, the mitigation package for the new development. We looked at footpath access, a new route through to the school over the lock-up area, and that was all part and package of these discussions. But it all stopped, and the next thing, well, it stopped and it went to appeal, and that was the next thing I knew about it. I'd never had any other technical information. I've never taken things any further forward than that.
Okay, and just a factual point from when I looked at the transport assessment, or certainly the first one, at that point, when the calculations were made, part of the development's still going to be accessed off another access heading to the south, wasn't it? But that's no longer the case.
Yeah. Well, as far as I haven't seen anything to change that. The drawings I have show an access out there, and the transport assessment stuff I saw shows 40 to 50 vehicles going out that junction.
No, you're right. You're right. My apologies. Yeah. I think what the original drawings showed was a further access towards the southwest corner of the site, wasn't it? That's
towards Almond Road, yes, heading up towards the canal. There was going to be another access, but there was, I think there was wildlife and protection issues in that area.
But I'll ask you, Mr. Barrow, you come in a second, but and maybe you'll be the one to answer this. But the modelling wasn't redone once that other access was taken out of the project. Is that right, Mr. Barrow?
No, it was. It was done with only having the two access points.
Okay.
I just wanted to make one quick point about Graham's point about the information for Myhead Road, except there hasn't been anything updated. But I would point that the Ironside Farrow Works was a vertical and horizontal alignment with cross sections that was put to the council. I do accept it was preliminary, but I would also point out that that information was then used by the council for their own means to redesign a full new road to DMRB standards for their evidence. So I think there was quite a lot of information presented to the council. I accept that it wasn't updated, but it was pretty clear of the solution that was being put forward with cross sections and on lawn sections for that feature.
Right, I will come on to that actually, because I'm interested in the difference between what that might envisage from the Ironside Fire drawings and what the council is based its costs on. So I'll get a little into that a little bit further. But can I ask Mr. Crawford? Now I hope I've not lost my train of thought here. Yeah, you talked about. You said you were in discussions, and there was discussions for levelling off the other little blind spots. So I can't remember the word you used. But so I've been along Myhead Road, and from my recollection, you come over the railway bridge and come down the slope and turn to the right, and then the road is dead straight, pretty much straight. Okay, there's no blind spots between once you come between the railway bridge and the hump before you go down to the junction. So I'm a bit confused when you talk about other blind spots in the road.
There are 4 humps on that road that cause visual loss as you go down the road, over and above the top one. And when you look at when my road safety officer looked at the accident, about that, somebody decided to try and phone me there.
Sorry, yeah, if you could just go back a little bit, Mr. Crawford, I lost you. You said 4 humps.
Ironside Farrer came in with original drawings. They submitted what were reported to be 2 road safety audits on the junction of Mathead Road. I asked my road safety officer at that time to look in. He did a report in 2014. He found there were 6 accidents on that section of the road, and every one of them were put down to loss of vision and the narrowing of the road and people's drivers' frailties meeting up with the road's frailties and causing the accidents. And that's where I was coming from with it, and that I was progressing with Ironside Father with a view how they were going to remedy these bits. It was never mentioned as being a DMRB road at that time, but now we've got the National Roads Development Guide in, which directs us. We have a road safety responsibility as a council to the public using the road, and that directs us to DMRB standards for that section of road.
Okay, that's good. I can go back and have a look again just to remind myself what I saw the last time. But we will come on to some of those more detailed questions in a moment. Mr. Birrell, I think Mr. Crawford said 4 other blind spots. Do you agree with that?
No, surprisingly, I'm sorry. As you come over there are undulations. I wouldn't class them as blind spots. I think, from my recollection, I drove it only a couple of weeks ago, but as you come off the A803 and come over the first, I would accept the hill, you can literally see from there all the way up to the railway bridge bend. I accept their undulations. I don't think they form blind spots. You can see vehicles within the road space. I know Graham's point about accidents. I think there have been 6 accidents since 2007, but again, the standard period for assessment is 5 years, and there haven't been any in the 5 years. Reviewing the accidents that have occurred, I accept that some of them have hit telegraph poles and other street furniture, but there isn't enough description in the information that I have to understand whether that was driver error or due to the design or layout of the road. I don't have the full Stats 19 data to confirm that, but I would not class the road as unsafe in that respect, given that there haven't been any accidents in the last 5 years. I think, and I would we go back to this argument about a DMRB design, whether it's a DMRB compliant design, and whether the National Roads Directorate points you to DMRB or a different level.
Can I come back in there, please?
Yep, of course.
I didn't say there were blind spots or blind zones. I said they restricted some visibility, and if a driver's not fully alert, that can cause them difficulties. I'm just looking at a bit that was done in that accident report, and the conclusion drawn by my road safety officer over a period of 33 years was that the road accident rate sat at 4.3 times the national average for a rural C or unclassified roads national average. So that puts it seems that he said it seems therefore the road is likely to prove relatively unsafe.
I can't comment on that because we've not got that report towards us as a.
No, I appreciate that. Duncan, I appreciate that, but that's where I'm coming from with it. I thought that had been submitted as part of my initial application, my initial response to this. I'm sure I had submitted that, but that's where I'm coming from. And the bottom line for me as a councillor is we have a statutory responsibility to maintain roads safely. I can't get away from that. I can't deviate from that. And I think the Falkirk, basically what it said is Falkirk Council recognised, that's from our current road safety plan, Falkirk Council recognised that road systems have inherent dangers, will therefore endeavour to ensure that no person or agency operates in or near the road in a manner that is not as safe as it is currently possible to make it. And the implication of that is that standards will be applied whenever possible. And I think his comment was this junction is no exception. So that's where I'm coming from with it, with the standards that I'm looking at. And as I said, we have a statutory responsibility in that. I don't know. I don't think this junction's shown up in any of the assessments over the last few years as required. There's a lot of them, a lot more needing a lot more urgent assessment and amendment than this junction. It's just it's come along now with this new access and a new development.
Okay, Mr. Crawford.
Issues.
That's fine. I understand that the position of the council's in. I haven't seen, and again, I'm not saying I need to see it, but just for the sake of so we're clear about it, I don't think I've got a safety report from the road as part of the evidence before me. No, was it? Yeah, and my apologies. You didn't say blind spots. You said loss of vision. I think was the word you used. So I didn't mean to.
We're normally looking from vision from a driver's height down to about 290 on the road, and there's a lot of places on that road where you don't have that vision.
So that's
I agree with you. When you come off the railway bridge, or when you come up over the hump, you can see the full length of the road. It looks dead straight. I don't have a difficulty with that assessment from there. But as soon as you come off these two ramps and down into it, you're hitting all these humps. And there's the other day I came across one of them was flooded completely with a local road thing, and that's why I have concerns about sticking with this alignment as well, because it floods regularly.
Okay, and when you say loss of vision, what you mean is when you're from the driver's seat, you can't always see the road surface in front at some point in front of you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And that's what causes the drivers a difficulty. They misjudge a vehicle coming out, think it's further away or think it's closer, and they make an error. It's
okay, so you would still always be able to see another vehicle, but you don't see the road surface sometimes, and therefore that loses a bit of context in terms of how far away that vehicle is. Yeah.
And that would appear to be the conclusion for most of the accidents. The one was a tractor pulling out, of course, but you can never account for that.
Okay, we're not done with these detailed questions, I'm afraid. But just before I move on a little bit, so I think I'd misunderstood initially what the Ironside Farrer works were proposing, but in terms of width, right? Just thinking of the width alone just now, they're proposing to widen the entire road. It would mean the minimum width of the road would be 6 metres. So, Mr. Birrell, again, it's a similar form of question to the one I've asked before. So, is it your professional opinion that the appeal proposal would require Mirehead Road to be widened to a minimum of 6 metres?
I think we'd want to maintain the consistency. I think the majority of the road is 6 metres wide already, and I think what we'd be looking to do is what the Ironside Farrer proposals do is formalise that along the full length. So there's a good proportion of the road is already 6 metres. The sections that aren't, as Mr. Crawford pointed out, the farm access is 4.7, I think, over 20 metres. So we'd widen it out to create a consistency along its length.
Yeah, but I mean, you see, the reason I'm asking is that this might be a planning obligation or a condition, and therefore the issue of necessity comes up. So I'm just, and it's one for me to think about, but I just mean in your professional opinion.
I think it functions just now. If you class a main road can be down as low as 5.5 metres. I think because of the fact that this has the Campbell's Meat Factory wagons, and as Mr. Crawford's pointed out as well, it does carry farm traffic, a 6 metre road would be preferable, yeah. But it would function as a 5.5 if it was formalised and improved.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I was just noting that down there. Right, there's probably more I want to discuss along these kind of lines, but it probably takes me on to, if we're content to move on, my question 13. In 13. So interesting. We've maybe covered some of this already, actually. Let me see. So, yeah, the council's response talked about, well, said the justification for further works was in the application of current standards, including GG119, which is a road safety audit. I suppose I'm just trying to understand, and I think the discussions have helped me so far, so I'm a little bit further on. But beyond widening the road, what is it the council envisages necessary? Now, you've referred to drainage already, Mr. Crawford, so I think I understand that point. You're saying that it floods. You're also saying that depending on how much you do, SEPA might require SUDs and that kind of implications. But you in your answer, you also talked about cross-section, vertical and horizontal alignment, forward and junction visibility, drainage, traffic signage, surface texture, proper fuel gates. Those are the kind of things. So those are the kind of things you're talking about. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, they'd all be considered in the normal design process. They would all be considered.
Okay, and in terms of vertical and horizontal alignment, if the road's widened so that it's 6 metres, what other changes to the horizontal alignment? If it's straight and it's 6 metres wide, I just want to understand what else you need to do in terms of
drivers would expect a consistency in width and vertical alignment. That if we made 6 metres, it would have consistent width, but it wouldn't have consistency in vertical alignment. So you'd be looking for the alignment to be straightened up and some of the humps taken off and other bits filled. That's the way you would go about it if you're doing it within the width of the road. The fact that you're widening the road wider than it is even within the line of the road takes into road construction descent area. Because you're extending the road, albeit you're going out the way sideways, you are extending the road under the terms of the Road Scotland Act, and that then puts compulsory consultation with SEPA and other people, and almost certainly SEPA will not accept that road draining straight into the fields as it does just now. They would look for some form of drainage system and treatment of that road water before it goes into the local water courses. So that creates I appreciate that creates a problem. I know some places have put it under the road, or Transport Scotland have put it under the road, but I believe they're having difficulties with some of the areas who have done that. They tend always to put a basin or a pond off the side of the road somewhere, a suitable location for a discharge to a water course.
Okay, so just on that narrow point, right? Obviously, I don't need to, Mr. Campbell, you come in a second. I don't need to concern myself with too much with that process. But the point you're making is it brings in a design uncertainty and a cost uncertainty at this stage because until you go through that process. So, Mr. Burrow, can I just ask though, Mr. Burrow, is that your understanding that widening the road would require roads construction consent and consultation with statutory consultees? That's not in dispute, is it?
No, that's the case.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Campbell, were you going to say something?
I was just going to make that point about consultees, so you've got it now. I don't need to make it again. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Right, that's helpful. So, Mr. Crawford, what you're saying is that the widening to 6 metres takes care of the issue about horizontal alignment. But vertical alignment is about sweetening out the undulations in the road.
Yeah,
right?
the bits that your horizontal alignment, the vertical alignment should provide you clear vision for the required safe stopping distance ahead, and that road at the moment doesn't have that.
And that means entire visibility of the road surface.
Yeah, no. As per the safe, there's a safe stopping distance requirement for vehicles on the road, and the horizontal and vertical alignment has to take account of that, so you can see that safe stopping distance. If someone stops in front of you, you're able to stop in time.
Mr. Burrell, you were going to comment on that, were you?
There's an envelope. Yeah, there's an envelope of what you can see, and it's 100. It's not I'd have to get it up. It's in CD 109. Bear with me. Excuse me a second, sorry.
I think at the speed we are talking about there, it's 144 for the DMRB stand. I think it drops down to 120 for visibility for that test speed on the road.
There's a vertical, and there's a vertical envelope of what you have to be able to see. I'm sorry, I had it open and I don't.
Because it accommodates large vehicles as well as cars, that vertical visible envelope.
Yeah. But I don't think it's road surface. I think it's 100 millimeters above the road surface. Sorry. Try and get the right part for you. Yeah, so the driver's eye height is 105 to 2 meters, and the object height is 260 millimeters up to 2 meters. That's your stopping sight distance forward. So you're not necessarily having to see the road surface. It's a distance of 260 millimeters above the road surface.
What are you reading from there, Mr. Burrow?
Sorry, CD. It's one of the documents presented to us, CD 109, so which is highway link design, page 18. Gives the stopping sight distance requirements. So you have a driver's eye height and an object height. So you're actually looking at the road surface. You're looking at 260 millimeters above the road surface.
Okay, yeah, I do remember looking at that. Mr. Crawford.
Our proposals are, where possible, to take away some of the humps and achieve that 260 millimeter. And as Graham said, I think whatever the stopping sight distance is for the design speed of 85 km.
49. I just assumed the design speed to be 50 miles an hour because it came in at 49.9.
Yeah. So
if you put that into the calculations for DMRB, it comes in at 144 meters, and for you go down to the lower standard DMRB, it comes in about 120 meters. Yeah.
So you have an envelope of 1.05 above the ground to 260 millimeters above the ground for 120 meters, which can be achieved through the Ironside-Farrer stuff.
Right. So let me just. That was a bit technical there. So
sorry.
No, it's fine. It necessarily is the case.
Please get excited by these things. Sorry, everybody else falls asleep.
So is it? Let me just see what I understood. So both agreed, I think, both saying that the design speed is 85 kilometers per hour. Yeah.
We haven't done our own speed surveys, but the council have, so we'll just take theirs as read. So.
Right, and then and so therefore, which part? If you can give me the paragraph number, if you like, of CD 109, which part does that therefore invoke?
You'd be looking at table table 2.10 gives you the parameters.
Right, okay.
So we've taken a stopping sight distance of 120 meters.
Right, but then you also referred, Mr. Burrow, to the page 18, which is below that. So is that?
So if you're looking down the road for 120 meters and you have an envelope of 1.05 to 2.05 or 2 meters. And then you look down the road 120 meters, and your envelope at the bottom of that is 260 millimeters to 2 meters. So it's your vertical forward envelope. Okay.
So you're getting the distances from the table into
from the table, and then that's the envelope that you should be able to see. Right. So it's not so much seeing the road surface; it's an object in the road or a vehicle.
Okay,
so and Mr. Crawford, that's you both get the same interpretation there.
Yes, I agree with Duncan on that one, definitely. Yeah. Basically, if you're sitting in your car, you need to be able to see a body line on the road at that distance. You don't run over them. That's how I look at it. You know, just because if you do run over them, you're in trouble.
I'm not writing that down, but I know what you mean.
No.
Okay. Right, so can we move on to 14 then? And I do think I understand the issue here, but the parent is responding to your drawing. Now, I appreciate it's not a fully worked up drawing; it's designed to show things, but and the appellant saying, well, at the entrance to the factory, under the council's drawing, the road would be 3 metres higher. So I was just trying to understand why that would be the case. Is this because in your drawings, Mr. Crawford, you've from the crest, if you've taken the existing crest on the approach down to the road, down to the junction, but working southwards back from that, you've just assumed. Sorry, you've assumed a 2 metre gradient as to DMRB. I'm just trying to understand why your drawing is much higher.
What I did was I wanted an independent assessment of it. So I asked one of my colleagues in the engineering design unit, he's a very experienced roads engineer, bridge engineer. I just said, could you possibly do a centre line assessment to DMRB compliant with that road at that speed from that junction and do me a costing from that centre line? So it was a feasibility study. It was nothing more. And that's how he came up with that line. And I spoke to him just last week before this, and he said that was a quick job, a quick line doing that. That line can be tweaked. There's no two ways about it. But he said that line that he produced is compliant with the DMRB, and that's what I asked him to do. I gave him it blind. He didn't have any other information. He just had the profile of the road, and that was what he came up with. Okay,
and when you say centre line, what does that mean?
You just draw a centre. You're not taking account of any other design feature. You just try to get a line that will work to DMRB standards for the centre line of that road from the junction up to the ramp at the rail bridge.
Right, and then okay, so it's almost doing it without having any regard to the current topography. Is that right? It's not flat.
You're just doing the centre line. It's a preliminary way of looking at it to see if it's feasible. It is a feasibility study, and that was what that's the line he came up with. Because if you're sticking, I don't want to get too technical, but if you're sticking to all the relevant values within the DMRB, the K values and that, your vertical curve, if you had that 5% rise that the AMSA drawings show, and then you get to the other side of the hump, it goes down at 10%. So that's an aggregate of 15. The K value for that is 55. So it's taking you up to almost 825 metres. So you'd be the full length of the road in the first vertical curve, which isn't practical. That's why it lifts the road up. There's a lot of cut and fill with that. It was taking the road through at 2%, I think, the line that he did from the junction.
So is this? I'm still just trying to understand what that means for the vertical alignment. So you have the junction. You have the junction at a certain point is a certain amount of meters above sea level, right, or data level. Yeah.
You're from the channel line of the junction,
right? And you've the railway.
You take your gradient away from there. The ideal is 2%. That's the best 2% up or 2% down. If the road's coming up, you go for 2% to give people a safe platform to come off it and go into the junction or come out the junction. He ran that through. He worked out the best line for him was to go straight through at that 2%. And that's what that was based on. He went right through the cutting at 2%, beyond the Campbell's access, and then he went, I think it's a 5% grade, because that's the only way you could fit the vertical curves in. You couldn't fit vertical curves in as per DMRB.
Right, so it assumes a 2% rise in the road coming away from the junction.
Yeah.
For what distance? All the way to the railway bridge?
No, he's about, I think it's about 400 metres he goes through at that, and then it drops to 5% back down into the dip, and then it goes back up at 5% to tie in. I think, just give me 2 seconds. The crest is vertical curve, or the first vertical curve is at chainage 160 or thereabouts.
This is a paper, Mr. Crawford, I just check, this is a paper copy of the electronic version that I've got already, yeah? that you're
Yeah,
looking
yeah, I've just printed it off for my own benefit here.
Okay, sorry, can you-
That's the one, it was prepared by John Divers, our engineer from our engineering design section. He then
Okay, so-
goes to a -5% gradient down at the dip, follows that right down through -2, and then he starts back at 5.2, 6.2 to get tie into the 10% gradient at the rail bridge. So it's all these gradients are within the compliance of DMRB. The vertical curves, everything comply with DMRB.
Okay, right, that's helpful. I understand the basis.
And I appreciate where Duncan and I are coming from. I know it's quite a dramatic change from what's been put forward and everything, but that's why I wanted the comparison.
I think if I can just, a fundamental point is that you're coming at this from two complete angles. Graham's brief to his engineer is to go from point A to point B with a DMRB compliant design, disregarding, well, we're taking no cognizance of the existing road space, the existing road envelope, or third party land. And I think there can be no comparison made between that and the Ironside Farrar drawings, because you're basically building a new road. You're almost forgetting that Mirehead Road is in existence there, and building a brand new road. You have a 3 level. There's multiple points. Hopefully, you have our drawing MTS 8003 SK01. That should have been submitted. I'm hoping.
Probably. Is that one of the Ironside Farrar ones?
It's an Ironside Farrar drawing that it should have a Modus stamp. Well, it should have a Modus stamp on it actually, and it has three cross sections drawn on it. I'm hoping it has been submitted.
Is this the one when you were critiquing or making comments about the council's?
So I've tried to show on that. It shows what the Ironside Farrar proposals are, which are taking away undulations, and then it shows that the council proposal, which is not wrong, it's a fully DMR compliant from A to B, but it's a brand new road. It's taking no regard of third-party access points, no regard of third-party land control, the phone pass, street furniture, and that's where they're coming at completely different. So it is very difficult to talk about the two because they are so completely different. And I think that drawing that I've got shows the level difference. I think it's a centre section, shows the level difference at the Campbell's Meat Factory, and I think it's almost 3.2 metres. And you can, to a level, design that road. You could reduce the gradients and the vertical curves, but you're never going to design out 3.2 metres and be within compliance of DMRB.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, the reason for going down there was just to understand the basis for the council drawing, and I think I understand now, and so that's fine. It was no more than that. Okay, I'm going to. The last set of questions I've got, I think I might have said in the agenda I've got questions about 19 and 20, but I don't. It's really just 18 that I want to go on to. But just a factual point. The railway bridge, what year was that put in? I think I've seen it somewhere, but I can't remember. So. Roughly.
When was Egypt project? It's not been that long, but it's already been amended since then because the parapets have been increased in height to meet the new European standards. So it's completely blind now. That's why the traffic lights had to be put on it.
So so it's pretty recent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, Mr. Murchison, did you have your hand up? You know the answer.
From memory, I was working in Larbert at the time when all the bridges were done. I think it was about 2011, 2012. Would that be about the right time scale?
I think you're right, Colin.
I couldn't say for definite, but it was certainly in that time scale where the bridges were all increased because it was to do with all the bridges going from Glasgow to Edinburgh and improving the railway line. So the one I certainly worked at Redrow at that point in time.
Okay, that's fine. It's just it was just a factual point. So it was around about 2011, 2012 it was put in, and Mr. Crawford was saying there that since then the parapets have been extended for newer trains.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we go on then to question 18? So, and I've got the appellant's response to that. So part of the problem here, it seems to me, the differing estimates of the costs or different views about uncertainties of costs, and if I was to issue an intentions notice where I minded to allow the appeal, the more specific it was about what needs to be done at Marhead Road, the better that would assist the parties reaching agreement. Something left too open might not be terribly helpful. So I just want to talk about the scope for. We've talked about it already, but just a little bit more. And we've talked, Mr. Crawford, about when you, in responding. Yeah, the council's own estimate of the costs for upgrading the road. So I think that was, I think it might be document 6 in your response to the procedure note. Is that right? It's the schedule of costs anyway.
It's a cost estimate of upgrading Marhead Road to 85km design speed, DMRB vertical alignment. Yeah, that's it's a schedule, and it gives a bottom price of 1.579 million.
Yeah. So
that was for the DMRB. I appreciate that was for the DMRB. I had concerns about the values that came in because I priced the road on a road bond prices, which is purely and simply the wearing course, the base course, and any curbing. And I was arriving at £408,000. It's about 900 metres. That doesn't include any underbuilding, any construction works, any drainage, any moving any cables or poles, and that was where my concern came from, and that was why I asked for the fully compliant DMRB design and an estimate cost for it. And that's where that desire came from for me, to see how far out we were and where we would land up if we were meeting somewhere in the middle.
No, that's fine. So I just can we all have it in front of us though? I just have a few questions, just so as I'm understanding exactly what it's telling me. Okay, appreciate that kind of that clarification of its purpose, but just on its content, so as I understand it right. Let me get it up. Okay, does everyone have that in front of them? Yeah. Right. So yeah, so the title refers to the 85km design speed. So that's fine. We've talked about that. And you've clarified there that it's not a cost of doing the Ironside firework. It's a cost of the DMRB compliant design that you asked your colleague to look at. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. That's fine. That's understood. But even for the Ironside fireworks, you still think the council thinks the appellant's estimated costs are too low. Yeah. That's a separate matter, but I'm just clarifying that's still the same.
Yes, those were my thoughts on it.
Yeah. Okay. So the estimate, it refers at the top to a 7.3 metre wide rural road. In fact, in both the top end rate and lower end rates, in the table, so the very first line in the table, you see 7.3 metre wide. But then right at the bottom, when the costs have been kind of tabulated, under width it says 6 metres. So I just wondered why they're different.
I think he would have taken a full 7.3 because that's what the costings would work on, and he'd take a pro rata off to get it down to 6 metres. That's how he would arrive at that figure. I think the Spawns book, the Civil Engineering Highway price book, works on a 7.3 metre wide road, so you have to interpolate from there down if you do a 6 metre road.
Okay, fine, thank you. Close that point up. Okay, because the council's can still content that a 6 metre wide road, DMRB 6 metre wide road is appropriate. And then and again, to change the change is taken from the A803 junction. So change 9172. That's about the end of the railway bridge. This is as far as this drawing's going to. Yeah.
Yes. I think it ties in halfway up the slope to the railway bridge. That's where it ties in.
Okay. So and that's fine. I mean, I think we've discussed. I know the parties' positions as to what this document shows on how helpful it is, or Mr. Burrell's views, Toby's views about how appropriate it is to guide me. So it's just a different question then, and I think maybe you said this earlier, Mr. Burrell, but there's this question of 6 metre widening within the existing road boundary. Do you think that's achievable without the use of third-party land? It's just that Mr. Crawford was talking about possible drainage issues, and I'm so based on the kind of Ironside Farrer works, if you like, are you confident that 6 metre widening is possible within the existing road boundary? Yeah. Sorry, that was a yes.
Yep, I'm just checking. I was unmuted there. Yeah, I do. Sorry.
Okay.
My only comment is that if drainage is required, depending on how that's designed, you have to get to a water course as well. And it's how you physically get to that water course. Even if you are draining and treating, you would certainly have to keep it within the road carriageway width for the treatment, because without going into third-party land, but it's actually getting any drainage connection is certainly an issue.
There are 2 outlets, water courses there that could be used, and I think they're in the right place, right in the bottom of the dip. So.
So these are all, if I understand it right, these are matters which would be for roads construction consent. They represent a design uncertainty at this stage, basically. Yeah.
What I was going to say, the difficulty for me with that is if somebody's granted planning permission, I then come along and I can't give them RCC because they can't comply with conditions there. That's why I'm keen to see all these things sorted out at the planning stage. So I know when it comes to RCC, I'm just going to be going, right, we've done that, we've covered that, we can issue RCC.
Yeah,
it's always going to be a difficult, particularly at this stage, at the PPP stage. It's not such a difficult when you come to full planning, but it is a concern, particularly as the government are looking for us to run them in tandem.
Well, it's for similar reasons that I'm asking these questions, because I need to give thought to what I need to say in my decision letter. If there's going to be an intentions notice, what it needs to say about what, if any, works need to happen to Marrowhead Road, and I can't second guess what's going to be required by roads construction consent, and I wouldn't wish to do it. But the more clarity that decision notice can give about what I think is needed here, would mean you're likely to more able to subsequently agree. Rather than if I just leave it open. So that's why I'm asking these kind of questions. Okay, that takes me to the end of the questions I had. So I wonder whether there's anything you want to add, just generally. So I'll maybe go to the council first of all. Is there anything that in wrapping up you would like to say?
From my own point of view, I'd very much welcome more contact from the applicant in respect to the road design. If they've got things that they want to put forward for agreement, I'm quite happy to have a look at informally before we go further. I think Duncan and I have had a few discussions on this, and I know where we're both coming from. I'm coming from a fairly high standard of the road, and he's coming from basically improving the existing road. There has to be some compromise in the middle somewhere.
Okay, Mr. Birrell then, and Mr. Campbell, if he's got anything to add. But Mr. Birrell, initially, is there anything else you want to say by way of closing?
I agree with Graham that we're looking at it to improve the existing infrastructure, using the existing road space, and I think the Ironside Farrar drawings and cross sections are a good starting point for that. We do need to do more work, I accept that, but I think they have demonstrated that there is a solution there. It's not going to be the Rolls-Royce one that the council have initially put forward, and we've discussed roundhouses about that, and I still think that's fundamentally wrong. We're not designing a new road from A to B, but I think there is a solution there. But except there is more work to be done, but we would do that as and when we were required to within the process. It's difficult when it's a PPP, committing to do all these things, but I think there's a solution to be had.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
It was only to say that in coming to discussion about what the contribution should be to the cost of this road, it's always easier for developers if there's a fixed price contribution, whether it's phased over the life of the development or staged at the beginning or staged at the end, doesn't matter. It's very difficult to plan for the economic outturn, particularly in current economic circumstances, if you have something uncertain. Now, we don't have costs in front of us, except in the most general terms. And Mr. Crawford has complained that there's a lack of detail. And as Mr. Thurl has explained, we're coming at this from different ends. But if you were minded to issue an intentions letter, then that's one of the things you might want to think about, is how that contribution should be staged, or how it should be calculated first and then staged, so that we have, as developers, a greater measure of precision. In other words, so you'll decide the principle, and you might want to think that it's a good idea to leave it to the parties for a restricted period of time. You might want to think about leaving it to the parties to come to a view about what the size of the contribution, if any, should be.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. And I should have said it was remiss of me. The council's position is, in fact, that it would prefer a suspensive planning condition. So when I said planning obligation, I meant planning obligation and or condition.
I know, yes.
So yeah. So just so we're clear. Okay. If no one else is getting anything to add, then that's the end of. I'll bring the hearing to the end. Just for taking it beyond this hearing itself, there is to be the appellant is to give me some submissions in respect of healthcare contributions. The discussion we had on that hearing, and the council and indeed NHS Forth Valley will be able to respond to that. And going the other way, the council is going to do a follow-up paper on the special housing land audit in terms of education, and likewise the appellant give a chance to comment on that. But I'm hopeful that would take me to a place when I could write up the decision.
So, can I assume from that you don't feel you would be assisted by a summing up paper on this hearing, or indeed on both of the roads hearings?
Well, what do you think about that?
Well, it's not up to me. I'm not making a decision. It's up to you to decide. Well, forgive me. I believe it's up to you to decide whether you have information. The only suggestion, the suggestion that was made about the healthcare provision was made by the appellants, because we all felt after the session that the information hadn't come out particularly clearly. It was all harum-scarum and lots of figures and lots of jumbled thinking. This session's been much better, if I may say so. And I'm not a roads engineer, of course, but if you felt that you wanted everything summarised in a paper, then we could make that offer to you. But I think it's really up to you.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, subject to any views the council has in this, I'll have a think about it. Like you, Mr. Campbell, I see less I can see why you came away from the health hearing thinking that this has been a different kind of discussion, and so there's maybe less need for it. But I will think about it, and if I want one, then I can get back to the parties. Is the council happy with that? Leaving it at that?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, no further comment. Happy with that.
Okay. Well, in that case, thank you all very much for participating today. It's been very helpful to me, and I'll formally close the hearing. Thank you.
Can we thank you very much from our side? Right, sir.
Yeah, from us as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll hear from you in due course, Duncan.